Oh, I knew from the audition that it was for me. I didn't know if I would get the shot. You know, when you have a good audition, doesn't necessarily mean you get the job. But I knew I was ready. I knew I've been ready. And that's not like cockiness. It's just, you know, when you've done the work and you've bounced around as a co-star, a guest star, recurring for so many years, and you just hope one day every actor hopes one day they get the shot to lead. I think most of us do. And just the fact that this was a title, you know, the title character was a big deal, and I wanted to fight for it. So I did. Yeah, it feels good.
First off, I'll start by saying congratulations yet again. Trace, I've had the opportunity to say that to you a couple times now, so I will repeat it again. Patricia, Andrea, congratulations. This is something else. Andrea, you're first up here. So I imagine you've been working on this idea for quite a while. How long have you been developing this story, and what would you say is the biggest difference between draft one of this script and what we now see in the finished product?
Oh, wow. Well, I think I started writing it. The first time I felt I recognized the idea behind this film and what I wanted to express was in 2014, actually. So many years ago. And then I actually don't know how many drafts I've written with my co-writer, Orlando Tirado. But I think the original idea is actually surprisingly very, very similar to the finished product. Of course, there are scenes that have evolved, that changed, but the spirit, the essence of the film is very much the same. And that is really, I set out to explore, you know, the complexities and the dynamics of the experience of not being fully recognized for who you are, of not being accepted, of not being seen, and all the consequences of that, all the traumas of that, and I found that, you know, through the character of Monica, but of course through these extraordinary performances.
I'm going to follow up on what you were just touching on there, because I was reading your director's statement, and you were explaining how this is a personal story, and you know it's a lot about how you confront your own past as well. And one of my favorite things about movies in general is how, you know, it helps us as an audience to be able to process difficult human truths that we might not be able to face head on in the real world. So for you tackling those ideas through a screenplay, is there anything in this story that has now, you know, inspired you to rethink or reprocess something in your own personal experience?
Absolutely. You know, I think that, you know, all the characters I write, you know, are a vehicle to explore certain aspects of myself as well. And I recognize myself in all of them to a certain extent. So, you know, the experience of making a film and to collaborate with so many artists to bring it to life, you know, is one in which, you know, you spend years and years, you know, like delving as deep as you can into these aspects and dynamics and complexities. And so, you know, the before and after, you know, like the identity, like my sense of identity, of course, shifts and evolves because of it.
Trace, I'm going to come your way with a very similar question that I started with, because I think the last time we spoke, you had mentioned you first auditioned for this something like 6 or 7 years ago. So what's the biggest difference between the Monica you brought to the audition space and who she became the more you got to explore her during prep and actual production?
Yeah, it was 2017, early 2017. I started auditioning. It really put me through the ringer.
No, I might have, but I have to say, I knew that I'd found you, like from the moment I first met you.
I was like, what's taking so long? Come on. No, what's different? Okay, so I think I learned stuff about Monica. I had plenty of time to just sit with her, and when I was on set, I just discovered more and more about her. I'm not sure. I guess she just unfolded to me as we went. I didn't over prep. That's just not really how I work unless I'm doing like an accent or something crazy. Her shell was different from mine, make no mistake. But I think for me, it was just about really working from the gut. We've talked about how we work very similarly in that way, and not over preparing and just like being in the moment and raw with it and sitting with it. So I'm not sure. I can't really say what's changed. I just found her along the way.
I'm gonna follow up on something Andrea just said. So it does seem like the second he saw you, he knew with confidence that you were his Monica. When did that confidence hit you personally? Was it anything when you were prepping? Was it doing a particular scene? Something that made you say to yourself, like, yes, this is my role and nobody else's?
Oh, I knew from the audition that it was for me. I didn't know if I would get the shot. You know, when you have a good audition, doesn't necessarily mean you get the job. But I knew I was ready. I knew I've been ready. And that's not like cockiness. It's just, you know, when you've done the work and you've bounced around as a co-star, a guest star, recurring for so many years, and you just hope one day every actor hopes one day they get the shot to lead. I think most of us do. And just the fact that this was a title, the title character was a big deal, and I wanted to fight for it. So I did. It feels good.
I'm going to come back to the idea of playing a title character soon. Patricia, first I want to make this nice and awkward for you because I want you to talk about the two of them while they're sitting right next to you. First, I know you signed on for this project immediately because you were really eager to work with Andrea. What was it about him that first said to you, even, I think you said you had met at a film festival. What's the first thing that signaled to you he could be a good collaborator for you? And then also, what was it about this particular script that made you say, this is the person to bring it to screen?
Well, he's handsome. That's a good beginning. No, we met at a festival, and I knew the second. Martin Scorsese and I gave him an award, and at the Marrakesh Film Festival, and. But I knew his films, and then I was sent this project, and I'm lucky, but it's really because I'm old. I didn't have to audition, so yay! Thank you. Something good comes, I swear to you guys, this is the fastest I've ever said yes in my life to a project. And I've been offered a lot, and I've done a lot. But I remember my agent called, and he said, Perri, you have an offer from Andrea Pallaoro. I said, oh. And he said, I think it's really beautiful. And I read it at like 2 o'clock on New York time, and by 10 o'clock LA time, I said yes. And because the script was haunting and startling and spare and delicious, and he told me he just cast you, and I knew you from Transparent. The whole thing, and it wasn't lost on me that finally someone was giving a spectacular, gorgeous actress the lead, a transgender actress the lead of a film, and I said yes, I'll be there as the dying mother with no makeup.
Now, in terms of working with Trace, so Patricia, you are an industry icon, an absolute legend. This is Trace's first time leading a feature film. So even with all your experience, what is something you saw her do on this set that made even you go, like, damn, I wish I had the courage to do that when I was headlining my first film?
It was every day. I'll be very honest, and Trace knows how I feel. I have extraordinary love for Trace and respect, and it was from the moment I met her. We met across a crowded room at a pre-Emmy party, and I saw this exquisitely beautiful woman across the room, and I said, oh my God, there's my daughter. But it was the moment we had this connection, but every day on the set, Trace is a remarkable, stunning actor, and she made me a better actor every single day because I just had to bring exactly how I truly felt. You know, the love I had for Trace off camera was very easy to find on camera. And I do think as actors, sometimes we can only create so much. And sometimes exactly who we are and how we feel and how we really feel about the person has to enter our lives and our performance. And Trace, you know this, Andrea, Trace is just completely present and available and alive. And it was every single day I worked with her. Every day. Every day. She never, ever, ever failed in any way, Trace. You didn't. You were just, you made me a better actor working with you.
The feeling's mutual. That means a lot. Thanks, Patty. Yeah. I mean, I would echo that. Like, you know, it was an honor. Anytime I'm working with any actor, I'm trying to like just be a student to whatever I can learn from them. And yeah, it was incredible.
Trace, I was watching another interview you had done where you said throughout the journey of making this film, there were times where you had to let go and prioritize mental health. It's a very challenging piece, a lot of really challenging scenes in the mix here. Can you give us an instance of one particular scene that challenged you in that respect where, you know, you had to do something in order to center yourself and be able to forge forward?
Yeah, I mean, the most challenging scenes were the most technical scenes, I think. And as gentle of a man as he is, he can be very specific.
Very specific.
And that was a challenge that I welcomed as an actor. I'm grateful for it. The scene where I'm putting on the necklace comes to mind. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
And you know, I had to connect and, you know, find the emotion, all that good stuff, the truth. But, you know, he was choreographing my body and my lean and my head tilt. And when I put the necklace on, and I thought, this is like, you know, choreography in this little tiny box aspect, you know, ratio, this square. And another scene that comes to mind was the driving scene where I'm like doing the U-turn. And there's just a finite amount of time on the road before I had to turn. And then I was on a public road for a little while. Like the whole road wasn't blocked off. So there was part of it that was public. And then I had to pull a U-turn. And I don't know. It just was like working in that small bit of road and like trusting that I could get there with the emotion of it all. And in that, you know, that short amount of time was something that was tricky. And just I was proud of myself. You know, I was proud of myself. I don't know. It was, yeah.
Hearing someone say they're proud of themselves is my favorite thing in the world. So, Andrea and Patricia, I'm going to throw this question to you, and you can blame Trace for it. So, I love that we give each other awards, but nobody says good job to themselves in this industry nearly enough. So, can each of you tell me something you achieved on Monica that you can now look back on and say, like, damn, I am proud of what I accomplished there?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Like, but for me, really, as a director, you know, the most extraordinary moments, the ones that I'm the most proud of, really, honestly, are those in which I was genuinely surprised on set about what was given to me, you know, from all my collaborators. Those are really the priceless moments. You know, and the ones that I remember with really the fondest. Like it's, and you know, there's in this film there were so many, you know, so many. Like even the very first scene we shot, you know, it's the scene in which Monica breaks down in the bathroom after having met her mother after so many years, you know, and. You know, Trace from the very first take, and we shot just a few of those takes. But from the very first take, and it's a single shot, the whole scene. But from the very first take, she really surprised us, all of us. I'm talking about like everyone on that set, from the moment she came on it, from the very first moment, changed. We all knew the type of film that we were making because of that performance. And moments like this are extraordinary. Like another moment that I will never forget for the rest of my life, it was the bathtub scene. It was the first scene I wrote, and I had a lot of expectations for it, but the first close up, we shot first Patty's close up, Patricia, and another moment where everyone on set was so profoundly affected by it. The first take. And people around me were crying. I was crying. I mean, like moments like that are the most beautiful moments for me.
I think every single interview I watched to prep for this conversation tonight referenced the bathtub scene. And for good reason. It's incredible. You're incredible in it, Patricia.
Well, I guess I'm proud of that scene. I mean, I'm naked and crying and dying all at once. The trifecta, as I call it. But you know what I'm most proud of? There's two odd things. I'm most proud is because when you're shooting portrait, it's so specific, the ratio. And Andrea is such a brilliant, stunning director that as technical as it had to be at times, I was proud that we could exist in that square, we could exist in that frame and find our own life and our own emotional truth within that frame. I've done so many movies at this point in my life. I've never done portrait. And suddenly at 62, maybe I was 61, I'm suddenly finding a slightly new medium to work in. And I was very proud that I was able, but he created such a conducive, beautiful, the set was, as technical as it was, the set was about the emotional life of each character in each scene. That was first and foremost. And it was a beautiful set to be on. And we had no time and no money, you guys, none. But the other proud thing I am, and this is an odd one, the dog in the film is my dog.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And wait, so it took us a while to get the film made. So Andrea got to know Izzy. She's no longer with us, but she lives on. She lives on. And but Andrea got to know Izzy, and so one day he goes, "Buddy, why don't we use Izzy?" I love Izzy because it's like I owned a black fawn. She was the most beautiful, sweet, kind, delicious dog. I said, but Andrea, she's not a show dog. She's not a Hollywood dog, even though she hangs out with me in Hollywood when I work there. And he said, no, I don't care. And I was so proud. She actually really, she was really good. It's so shocking. I'm like, she looks like a trained dog. She was so sweet. Remember how sweet she was? Oh my God, everybody was in love with her. And she lives on in everybody's hearts from the film. So I'm very proud of that.
You learn from the best. I mean, you kind of teed this up. I wasn't going to ask about this, but you have many good dogs in this movie. What inspired the puppy element in the screenplay, and how is it working with those puppies that are all adorable?
Well, actually, I think that was like one of the last-minute additions. It was one of those things. So like, it was actually not even written in the script at first, but it's one of those things where like you see an opportunity and you take it. Like the whole relationship between the character of Virginia being so close to the end of her life, and this new life that the puppies bring, and like just the gesture that that beautiful moment in which the character of Brody, the nephew, brings the puppy to his grandma. I think, and like I knew that I wanted to have that show, like to actually bring him there, to see him cross the frame and take it there. So yeah, just it's things that just happen in as you make it.
The young actor who plays Brody is also something else. Talk about a scene stealer in the midst of a whole bunch of seasoned powerhouses in this movie. I did want to talk about your shot selection here because it poses many a challenge. So you have a whole bunch of scenes in this movie where the entirety of a scene takes place in one shot. You have select edits. Can you tell us maybe an example of both? A moment where you thought not breaking and capturing a moment in one shot served the scene best, but then also a time when an edit felt necessary in order to enhance something.
Of course. Well, every creative aesthetic choice behind the whole film, the whole strategy, the whole approach of Monica, I think is rooted in wanting to preserve the relationship between the spectator and the character, and by that I mean, wanting to allow the spectator to have the opportunity to have a very independent and individual relationship with the character and with the story. And one where there is very little manipulation. That's why, the use of music is exclusively diegetic, for example. Even the use of camera, and composition is conducive for that. And editing, I didn't want to break the performance. I didn't want to manipulate, when it was not necessary. For example, the scene in which Monica leaves her home, and then within the same shot, she decides to turn around and to go back, which is actually a shot that Trace talked about. To see happen in front of you in real time without any cuts, it's a way to really honor the performance and to allow the spectator to observe almost as a fly on the wall, But then, for example, bringing up the same scene like the bathtub scene, to have the cut between the close-up of Monica and the close-up of Eugenia, that, in a film that is so, where that happens so rarely, that becomes a punctuation, a way to reinforce that moment. So, editing is really the cinematic grammar that can enhance certain moments and create a sense of rhythm, and that's how I like to use it.
I could keep you through here all night. I'm not allowed. I have to let you go soon. But I want to stick with the shooting style and pose a question to you two. And the answer to this might be no, but in a bunch of the interviews that I had watched and read, there was an emphasis on the importance of things happening outside of a frame, which is an unusual thing for an actor to experience, where when they're not on the screen, the moment still has great weight and value. So is that something the two of you considered at all while you were filming?
You answer that one.
I teed up the answer. The answer might be no there.
What was happening off screen?
I did.
He was thinking about it. He was thinking about it.
You mean like
what is left outside of the frame, the relationship between what is inside and what is left outside. Well, can I say something here? It's just because I didn't want them to be as aware of the actual frame. Like, I wanted them to focus on their performance. So often they didn't know.
Oh, like watching the first cut was a wake-up call for me. It's like, wow, okay, I'm having a nervous breakdown
the back
in the
of my
car,
head.
and they're on the back of my head. Got it. And then the mic broke, so I had to recreate that in ADR, by the way. Which was fun, but no, it was all good. It was all a beautiful challenge. I mean, that's what you want. It's just, I mean, that's the cool thing about this job, is that it's always new. It's always evolving. It's always a challenge, hopefully, not always, but hopefully it is. And yeah, that's why I feel lucky to even do this.
I have to say goodnight to you. I'm going to ask everyone to stay seated before I thank everyone, but congratulations on this movie. Those challenges were well worth seeing through. This is a feat and something special, and I will urge everyone out here to tell everybody you know about Monica. Get independent movies seen on the big screen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Woo.